All right, so I decided to title the session "Calm Yourself Point, Winning Over Your Mental Health." So I want to believe you can all see my screen. Can I get feedback, please?
Yes, yes, we can see your screen.
All right, thank you. Okay, so what exactly is mental health? So mental health can simply be said to be a person's condition with regards to their psychological and emotional well-being. So what this means is that mental health is majorly non-physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's intangible. It's really more about what's happening in your head and how good or how concerning that is. So you know, mental health is just a state of well-being that enables people to cope with stress in life, enables people to realize their ability to learn well, to work well, and to contribute to their community. And it's a very integral part of life, really, because it's not something that you can separate from yourself. You can't separate your mind or your emotions or your thoughts from who you are. So in everything you do, your mental health is definitely going to be playing a role because it has this intrinsic and instrumental value that's just so integral to our well-being, really. And it's just basically, it affects every single thing. How you make decisions, how you build relationships, and how you view your world and what your actions are like. And it's just very personal, and also it affects other people too. So as much as it's yours, it's not something that you could just say, oh, you don't live in isolation. That's just it. We don't live in isolation. We deal with people. So it also affects our actions and how we also treat other people and what impact that has. So how exactly does mental health manifest? Because really, there's been a lot of, I'll say that in the recent years, we've realized a high level of awareness. But the problem then is how people tend to then interpret these things. I don't think anybody in this day, maybe I'm just making a hasty generalization right now, but I feel like people are very much aware of what mental health is. They get the idea, and people can name things, depression, ADHD, and so many other things. But even regardless of illnesses now, how does mental health manifest? So it's manifesting how we think, how we feel, and how we act. So like I said, it's a very integral part of our life. It's something that you can't separate from yourself. There are things going on in your head. So the state of mental health is actually what shapes your thought pattern and influences how you perceive the world and make decisions. So depending on how you feel, that's really going to shape what you do. For instance, I'm currently battling with anxiety, which means I have tendencies to overplan things. People think, oh, I don't procrastinate. That can be a big flex on some days, but the truth is actually that I just tend to overplan things because I'm already like overthinking, okay, what's the worst that can happen? And I'm just trying to take precautions. Now, if I didn't have anxiety, it means the way I'm going to think about things is definitely going to be different. Maybe I would procrastinate more and be able to do things without pressure, but I'm just trying to avoid pressure as much as possible because I do not work well under pressure. So I think, like I said, it's just something that just goes ahead to shape how you think, how you feel. So, it has to do with how you regulate your emotions, how it affects your mood, your how sad you are, how happy you are, and how you can cope with stress. I think stress is very important because yeah, you are constantly active, all right. So we have things that are constantly bothering us, and I think that's why therapy is important. I'll get to that later, but it's more like I think people undermine stress most times. People just, it's something that most times people do not take account of. They just feel like, oh, it's just them. But you have to pay attention to the external factors that actually play a role in these things too. And also how we act. So it also influences our behavior, impacting our energy levels, motivation, and social interaction. Now, somebody that struggles with social anxiety disorder would, of course, be less likely to actually go out to parties or events to meet people. So you can see that each of these things shape your entire being and every single thing you do. So it's not something that should be neglected because it's basically your whole life. So what exactly will I be doing here today? So my goal here today is to challenge your misconceptions about mental health. So yeah, while mental health conversations are thankfully on the rise, new misconceptions can cloud understanding, and I'm going to be challenging me today. So preparing this slide, I was trying to think of the most general thing to go with. So the goal, why we're dissecting each of these myths, it's to try to touch several topics because it's just 1 hour and there's not so much we can say in 1 hour. But I'm hoping in 1 hour I can say little about different things which I'm praying will be impactful. So yeah, what's the first myth? So the first myth is you only need to you only need to care you only need to take care of your mental health if you have a mental health condition. Okay, this one is number one because it's quite personal to me. So one thing I've noticed over the years is that, let me just read the prompt first. So it says everyone can benefit from taking active steps to promote their well-being and improve their mental health. Similarly, everyone can take active steps and engage in healthy habits to optimize their physical health. So it's very important that we, place our mental health on the same level as we do concerning our physical health. You want to eat well, you want to exercise, you want to look good, you want to brush your teeth. Because if you don't brush your teeth, your mouth will smell, and you don't want that to happen. You want to take your bath, you want to smell nice. So it's that same priority we give to our physical health that we should give to our mental health. So one thing I've noticed over the years is that mental health is not a one step kind of thing. It's not something you just do for, let's say, you don't want self-help, want self-care, 1 month challenge or something. If you're like me, you probably not even get through the challenge. But it's not something that's one of, because I noticed that at some point I had like, okay, I also focused on building great habits and making sure my mental health is well optimized. And then I took like 1 year off and I realized that now I'm struggling with panic attacks. Now my anxiety is terrible. So other things, it's like you have to get into that state where it becomes your daily lifestyle, because it's not something that, okay, you think, yeah, I'm going to journal and think about how my day went and introspect about my emotions and habits for the week, and then you don't do that months after. The thing is, you lose touch of who you are. So you want to always be updated about what's happening to yourself. You want to constantly ask yourself, okay, how am I feeling today? If you don't have time, it's something you can do weekly. Personally, I'm very busy, so it's not, I don't have time to journal every day, but as much as I can, I try to journal weekly, just to like be in tune with my emotions and what's happening. You want to ask yourself, how am I feeling lately? What is something good that happened this week? What is something bad that happened this week? What is something that I'm looking forward to? You want to look at key things that happened. If you got into a fight with someone, you want to think about it. Okay, what exactly happened? How could I have done better? Or did this person disrespect me? Did this person ignore my boundaries? How do I want to handle this moving forward? Do I still want to be in contact with this person? No, it's just really about being updated, like I said, because it helps to protect yourself. It helps you be more intentional about the things you want to do, about how you feel. Do you get? So if you don't not pay attention, it's something that will just like sneak up on you and you're wondering, oh, how did I get here? So I added weight recently, and everybody's always like, oh yeah, yeah, fatter, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And then I have to tell myself that, okay, yeah, I added weight, but it's something I really want to think about that. Am I comfortable with this new weight? If I become bigger, would I still love my body? Because I needed to have that conversation with myself. If I didn't sit down to think about it and write about it, I probably discovered that, okay, 3 months down the line, I just don't like myself. And I don't know why I don't like myself. It's just because through all those changes, I've not, paid attention to myself and think, okay, how do I feel about this? What do I want to do concerning this? How do I want to get comfortable um with this new size that I'm in? So there are very important things that if you just neglect it and you're just living life, you just wake up one morning and discover that, oh, I don't like myself, I don't like my job, I don't like what I do. So it's not just, oh, when you have a problem, you then think that, or when you think you have a problem, you then think, oh, I have depression, so I'm going to take care of my mental health. But if you don't feel like you have depression, you're not going to. Sorry, am I allowed to pause? Because I actually almost did.
Yes, yes, you are.
So, it's just like you just you just wake up one morning and you just feel like, well, I'm gonna talk about myself or something. So yeah, it's actually very important that you pay attention to yourself. So the second myth is, get depression when money no fit solve. I think this one should be very relatable for everybody here. So yeah, the economy has been crazy, and these days everybody's just like, oh, they need money, and in capitalist states, everybody's money focused, money driven, and things are just getting horrible, right? If I had a lot of money, it would solve my problem. Yeah, the truth is, why financial stability can reduce stressors related to finances doesn't guarantee a healthy lifestyle conducive to good mental health. So basically, yeah, I do agree. I feel like talking to a lot of people has actually made me realize that if people truly had money, there are a lot of conditions that would not be up there. There are a lot of anxiety that probably not exist, and everybody will be living a better life. Money really can make you happy. It can get you good things. It can be a medium of getting you a more comfortable life. But at the same time, I feel like it's very important that you want to be happy in the present moment, because you don't want to get to a state where you feel like, oh, I could just neglect myself simply because I don't have money now. But what you do to yourself is that you just make your life less enjoyable. I think it's very important that you try to prioritize your happiness in the present moment too. Of course, long-term goals can make you happy, but I don't want to live a life where I'm not happy in the present moment. That's why I think it's very important for you to like chase your dreams and do anything you want to do, even though it might not be on a big scale. There are things that make you happy that you can do on a small scale. If you want to travel, you don't have to wait till you can go to Spain or Greece. You could just probably decide to like explore states in Nigeria. So there are different goals that we have like that. That yeah, money would be a great factor, but at the same time, there are also things that when you think about it, you can put them on a small scale and still do it. So you're living your dream life. While it might not be like in a big scale, there's still a level of satisfaction that comes there. And one thing I just like to think about regarding this is the future is not particularly guaranteed. That's just it. So you don't want to say, oh, I'm going to be happy when I have money. Well, what if you're not? Money doesn't guarantee that, oh, all the good things in life are going to come to you. It can guarantee the good material things, but it doesn't guarantee what your work-life balance would be. It doesn't guarantee what your relationship would be like. It doesn't guarantee what your self practices would be like, because those things are not determined by wealth. Because at the end of the day, it's up to you to still be able to navigate this situation. You're definitely going to be working with people. You're definitely going to be in a relationship with people. You're definitely still going to be with yourself. All right. So it's not that, oh, you're just going to think when I have money, I'm just going to love myself. No, when you have money, you might still not love yourself. That's just it. So money doesn't guarantee you a life without any issue, really. So the third myth is therapy is not helpful. So yeah, I hear a lot of people say, oh, they tried therapy and it wasn't helpful, or their friend tried and the friend was like, the therapist said this, the therapy asked them to pray, the therapy did that, blah 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 blah. I've to admit that we don't particularly have the nice we don't particularly have a good system when it comes to therapy in Nigeria, really. But it doesn't mean that just because what you've experienced is bad, it automatically disqualifies everything. No. And one thing about therapy is not a magic wand. That's just it. Typically, when I meet people and they actually need help, the first thing I want to know is, are you willing to do the work? Because like I said earlier, mental health is like very personal. There's only a limit to what I can do or the impact that I can have on you. Because at the end of the day, it's your mind, right? It's your head. So it's up to you to make that decision that, okay, I want to get out of this situation. I want to put in the work to do this thing. Because if you don't have that motivation at your end, your therapist can only do so little. And in cases where, okay, your therapist is actually quite shitty, I think it's very important that you can take a break, but you also give yourself the chance to explore other people. I would say current my current psychological clinic right now would be in the D. It's being run by Amanda Hime. And I would absolutely trust you in her hands, really, because well, I met her a couple of times and she's quite sweet and she's relatable. She's also young. That's also something I put into consideration. She's also young. I also personally do not like religious people, and she's not. But if you do like religious people, definitely, I think that's something that you can also find somebody that works with you. I think she also has somebody it's a Christian, another lady too. So it's more like you can just like find what fits for you and something that makes you comfortable. Because before opting for therapy, you want to research where you're going to. If you trust those people to um take care of you as they expect, if you trust their expertise, and if you do feel comfortable with them, there's no point in there if you feel comfortable with them. That's why I I would always like research whoever I want to meet, just so I know, okay, is this person the kind of person I want to be with? I will check your personal Instagram, check everything I can check. If I don't feel like I will just like not do it. And the major aim about therapy is more about building you as a person. So it's not a magic one. It's just about trying to equip you with skills that would help you manage your emotions and navigate challenging situations. Really, that's just what it's about. So it's just more about, and I think that's why I do like therapy, really, because it's more like it's arming you for life, because the truth is that bad things will always happen. That's one thing I've come to accept in life, is we won't always have it rosy. So the issue then is, okay, when these things are happening, what exactly do you do? How do you manage yourself in moments like that? So it's all about teaching you that, okay, this is what you should consider in this kind of situation. You should pay attention to your feelings, and if you feel this way, maybe this means a particular thing, and that's something you want to be considerate about. That's something you want to pay attention to. So it's not just that you just come and just like meet you once or twice and then you're feeling all right. It's a long process, because I also think one thing we should pay attention to is that everything you feel too is also a long process. Nothing or any illness that you have, not just arrive in like one day or 2 days. So you do not expect that you're just going to need therapy for a month and everything is going to be fine, because it's usually a slow one. They want to take their time to, okay, I want to unearth everything that there is. So yeah, I think if you feel like you need therapy, please go for it. So the fourth myth is there's no coming back from a mental illness. Okay, so This one is very, very important. Everything I've said is very, very important. But yeah, this one is very, very important. Um, one thing I never want people to do is to settle. All right. If you realize that, okay, we are depressed, never settle. It's very important that you realize that there is always a way out of the situation. That's just the truth. Like I said, my first goal with people is to know, okay, how bad do you want to get out of this? Because I need you to be motivated to want to, you know, leave. Do not glamorize your mental illnesses. Do not glamorize your mental state. Really, it's not fun. It's not cool. You know, you meet people and you say, "Oh, I have OCD, so I just do this, that, and all of that." And people just throw the word everywhere on the internet. Oh, I have this, I have that, I have ADHD, blah 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 blah. It's not cool, really, because what that mindset does to you is that it just makes you settle. You just tend to feel, oh, this is who I am, and there's no solution, there's nothing I can do about it. But the truth is, there's something you can do about it. That's it. So you have a wild option of things that can help you out and make you feel better and ultimately aid you in living a happier life. It can be therapy, it can be meditation, it can be lifestyle changes, or even support group. So depending on what illness you're battling with, there's always something for you. And what option, and the option also is it's largely depends again on your person. It's a very personal thing. So you want to realize that, okay, if I don't like therapy, maybe um if you don't like therapy, maybe you might want to speak to a therapist about getting medication. And maybe you might want to consider certain lifestyle changes, and maybe you might want to consider being a support group, and just having people around you that are similar to you. And while serious situations like borderline personality disorder or schizophrenia, they don't have like a cure or ultimate, or the person just becomes a totally changed person, there are still interventions that can be carried to help reduce and manage your symptoms. So sorry, so they regain control of their lives. The point is, never feel like you've lost, never feel like there is no solution. Don't ever feel like this is just who you are. There's always room for improvement. There's always somebody better that you can be, and you should absolutely aim for that. So the last myth here is women are more emotional, so they are more likely to have mental health issues. So what I have here says society often socializes women to be more expressive of their emotions, while men may be discouraged from showing vulnerability. This doesn't mean that women inherently experience more emotions. Rather, they may feel more comfortable expressing them. So people like to do all those things where, you know, it's a girl thing to have a mental illness, perhaps bipolar, or just to be depressed. Girls are always sad, and the rest of that. So the truth is, it has nothing to do with your biology. Interestingly, um, I did a research on suicide sometime last year September, and I discovered that uh more men die from suicide than women, and it's like a ratio of 5 to 1 men to women. And that's because we live in a society where women are more open to talking about their issues. So yeah, even though more women reported having depression, women died from depression because men just don't talk. It's almost as if the only emotion they're allowed to feel is anger. Well, yeah, they go through issues too. It's just socialization that happens. So more women are more vulnerable to talk about their experiences and to actually get the help that they need. Just that men typically do not talk. And that's why most times when they attempt suicide, it's through more lethal methods, and they do get through with it. So yeah, I think it's very important that we understand that this is something that happens to everybody. It's not simply because we are a woman. And one thing I hate is, when people always talk about how oh, it's just if it's your period or something and the rest of that. But yeah, there's no biological difference as to how we handle mental health issues. The only thing is just more women are more expressive. That's why it might seem like, oh, more women have mental health issues. And I think it's great for us if we want to, talk and actually get the support and help that we need. So this next segment is now, how can you take care of your mental health? So these are just like general tips that you want to try to incorporate into your daily life, because it's just like, I don't know if anybody here follows Zahar Foundation, but one thing we try to prioritize in our social media posts is actually self-help tips, because I understand we live in Nigeria, therapy can be very expensive, and not everybody might be open to it too. So because of this, I believe it's very important that you take self-help tips. There are things you can do by yourself and just build great habits that would ultimately make you a happier person. And it just contributes to your overall well-being. So while you might not have accessible or affordable therapy, there are still things that you can do to make you feel a whole lot better. So you want to eat well, you want to eat healthy, regular meals, and stay dehydrated, because really food makes you feel better. That's just it. Like sometimes you'll be surprised about how little things can just make you feel a whole lot better. Food and good sleep, really. So you want to eat well as much as you can. I know it's hard because I don't like eating too, but I do my best. So I do my best. So yeah, you want to eat well. You also want to exercise. I do yoga because I find it very relaxing and it's pretty enjoyable. All right. So you might not be a fan of going to the gym or going for runs. I don't do anything stressful, really. I can't do anything stressful. The best I can do is yoga, and that's what I plan to stick with. But you want to move your body. Exercises are pretty exciting because it's releases dopamine, which is the feel good hormone. So you just tend to feel better after you sweat. There are days where maybe if I'm in my room throughout and I'm just feeling cranky, I just decide to do jumping jacks. Like this morning, I didn't feel good. I wasn't feeling so good when I woke up this morning, and I just like had a stressful day, really mentally stressful day actually. And I'm like, okay, I need to get myself to feel alive, and I'll just decide to do jumping jacks till I sweat, simply because it just makes you happier. This is just biology basically. So it's not something that really depends on you or how you're feeling. If you could just get yourself to sweat and release the famine, you definitely feel a whole lot happier. So those are things that you want to do, because it will make you a whole lot better. Really, when I used to prioritize workouts, I actually realized it did make me feel happy. I woke up in the morning and I move my body. It's just, my day is just so bright, and everything is. I'm just feeling energized, basically. Then next thing you want to do is you want to make sleep a priority. I love sleeping, and really sleeping can be quite relaxing. If you battle with some, I'm not sure I can pronounce that word right now. Insomnia. If I didn't pronounce it right, I'm sure people know what I mean. If you battle with sleeping, I think it's something that you might want to, take up professionally, maybe. Um, Especially if you are depressed or if you have anxiety, these are things you want to address, because really, if you can't sleep, it's it's yeah. I have a fun fact here. So I was reading one time about why couples tend to split after their first child, and I realized it's sleep deprivation. I just feel like sometimes I just don't know how to pronounce words at the moment, so I need it the most. So the thing about new parents is that they don't get enough sleep because of the child, and when you're sleep deprived for 2 weeks, it actually leads to depression, really. So let me just say this in passing. The thing about mental illness is they're typically things that goes on in our daily lives. Okay, I think I have that. Yeah, so I'll just get back to it. But you want to make sure you prioritize sleep. Uh Late last year, I realized I wasn't feeling so good, so I decided to extend my sleep time. Then once it's 11 p.m., I'm not going to reply any messages. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go straight to bed. And I used to wake up by 5. Then I started waking up by 6. I have to be like so deliberate. I know I need more sleep because I wasn't getting enough sleep. So if you don't sleep, please try to get more sleep. If there are things you can change in your schedule, try to change them and accommodate more sleep. And if you can't have like 8 hours straight of sleep, you might want to prioritize maybe sleeping in between the day. That's something I do too. So if I realize that okay, I'm not getting enough sleep during the night, during the day I want to sleep. Like maybe during the day I'll try to think, okay, maybe this 1 hour I should actually nap. Now, even if I don't end up sleeping, I just make sure that I'm not doing anything that will be stressful or I'm not overthinking. I'm just trying to relax and clear my head. So also you want to try a relaxing activity. I think it's very important that you have hobbies that make you feel good because you just want to do things where you could just relax, really. We live in a very busy world. Everybody is constantly doing something, maybe at school, maybe at working, or there are just so many things to do. And it's just important that you take a break and you just pause and just try to relax, really. That's why I don't really buy into monetizing your hobbies. If there are things you do, I enjoy reading, and a lot of times people are like, "Oh, why don't I um get into doing paid book reviews or something?" I don't want to do paid book reviews because it's going to mean that now I'll be forced to read a book at a particular time. But what I enjoy about reading is that I can read anytime on my own terms. All right, so you want to look for relaxing activities to try out. You can try out new things. I also dance salsa, and it can just be something fun. It can be taking walks, it can be reading, singing, or joining societies. Really, you could join a really nice society, you could join a film club. There are just so many things out there. You could try baking, you could try knitting, bead making, just do something that when you just feel like okay, you need to pause, life has been stressful, that's what you opt for. So also we're still on how can you care for your mental health. So you want to set goals and priorities. Now, one thing about setting goals is that you want to be realistic while you are setting goals. It's very important that when you're setting goals, you know what exactly is possible. I feel like for a long time, I used to be my own problem because I'll just set outrageous goals, and sometimes I look back at them and I'm like, how did I even think I could do these things? So sometimes the Lulu is not the Lulu, really. You want to be honest with yourself. I think that's one thing I appreciate in myself currently. You want to be honest with yourself. If you tell yourself, okay, I want to what can I yeah, let's say for instance now you tell yourself I want to read 50 books this year. And you are currently struggling with reading and maybe you don't remember the last time you read a book. You want to tell yourself, okay, maybe my goal should just be to finish 5 books or 10 books. Now that might not seem a lot when you compare yourself to like other people, all right, but those people are probably average readers and you know they read a lot typically. They are not in your shoes. So you want to be realistic to yourself and tell yourself, okay, this is what I can actually achieve, and this is what I can, and this is what I should go on to do. So one of my goals last year was to not set goals for my birthdays. I used to set goals for my birthday because I like to think of my year from July to July rather than January to December. So I'm always thinking, okay, what have I done from last year July to this year July, and how have I been able to, be a better person, and it's a new year generally, that kind of thing. And I didn't realize that I was finding it difficult to be happy during my birthdays, because I'm not thinking, okay, maybe I should just be so excited about planning my birthday. I just, it's like this whole day made for me. I'll be thinking, I said I was going to do this thing and I didn't do it. I said I was going to get this, I didn't get this. Oh, there's nothing for me to be happy about. And I think that's why I'm excited about my birthday this year, because now I'm not stressing myself about goals that I did not hit because I didn't make any. So it's just so relaxing that, oh, I could just think about celebrating with no pressure, rather than thinking, oh, I didn't do this when I should have done that. So when you're setting your goals, set realistic goals. Know what is possible for you to do, because really it's going to save you a whole lot of disappointment if you if you're able to, do something. I think that's what matters. You don't want to set something that, oh, you don't do at all. So even if it might not be a lot, you're definitely going to have something accomplished, and that's what you should aim for, really. So set goals and priorities and be realistic with them. It can also help prove guidance to what you're doing, and it will be an easier way to evaluate your entire year and think, okay, this is what I've been able to do. And it will also aid your overall well-being, really. And you might also want to try to set more personal goals about things that would contribute to how happy you feel or how good you feel. For instance, one of my goals this year was to try to style my hair weekly, because I just thought I have dreads, so it's very easy for me to just like move them backwards or just leave them, and that's it. Nobody cares. And I realized that, okay, I wasn't caring too. But I was like, oh, I think it should. I'm always excited to have my hairstyle. So I was like, oh, if I style my hair weekly, it's going to make me a whole lot happy. It's maybe on Sundays, it will be like a me time for me to think, oh, what else to do with my hair. And then I'm just like happy throughout the week, and I'm looking forward to having a new style on next week. So those are things that you might also want to like think about. It doesn't have to be any like big financial goal or any business goal or anything. It can just be little things like, oh, I want to paint my nails, I want to get my lashes done. Really, I think I love to paint my nails and get my lashes done, honestly. Like it makes me really happy. So if it makes you happy, there are things you want to be like, oh, this thing actually makes me happy. Perhaps I should try doing them monthly, weekly. Just do what makes you happy. So setting those can be in that regard. It doesn't have to be anything too serious like that. It's just something that you're just doing to make yourself happy, and that's very important. So next thing you want to do is to practice gratitude. So it's very easy for us to just get lost in challenges we feel and just think, oh, there's nothing for me to be happy about, and you're just so focused on a particular thing you want to solve, rather than rejoicing in the one that has already existed. There's this thing that I see online where uh, someone is like, they are living in and your answered prayers or something similar. Your current state is definitely something you used to pray to, you used to pray about before. So those are things you want to, put into perspective and think, oh, I've actually come a long way. So one way that I do that is I create a brag list for the year, because I just feel like, oh, let me try to keep track of everything that I'm so grateful for, everything that makes me happy, things that I want to brag about. And when I'm feeling, oh, I've not done anything this year, it's so easy for me to like pick it up and think, "Oh, this didn't happen this year." Sometimes you forget. That's just it. You forget and you just feel like, oh wow, I thought this thing happened last year or something. So it's very important to practice gratitude. Earlier this year, people were doing that gratitude chat thing. So I think that's also a fun way for you to go about it. And maybe randomly, if you're feeling down, it's just something that you can pick up and just read and realize that, okay, there's actually lots to be grateful for. And sometimes, if I don't have any personal thing, my family actually makes me happy. When I think about my sisters, I think, oh, my sister was able to do this, my mom was able to do this. It really makes me happy. So even if it's not a personal thing, it can be through your family, through your friends, and just you know, set things that can, make you happy and also make you more grateful. So we have focus on positivity. I just realized now that those two are quite similar. So yeah, it's basically the same thing. You want to focus on positivity. You want to focus on all the good things that have happened. Don't give too much importance the to the bad things. And really, one thing I like to ask myself is, would this matter in a year? Would this matter in 3 months? I was actually sad one day, and my friend came to my room and she was like, "What's wrong with me?" I said, "I don't want to talk," and she was like, "Would it matter in a week?" I just started laughing because no, it would not matter in a week. And immediately that just brightened my mood. And sometimes when I'm feeling pretty low, or I'm very anxious about something, I'm just thinking, okay, will this thing even matter in India? I'll probably not even remember it. So it just calms me down. All right. So I think you want to focus on positive things like that too, and just get your perspective right. So now the last one is stay connected, which is basically finding a community. So we are social beings, and our relationships with people are very, very important. So it's very crucial that you find a community that you fit into. So I don't think this needs to be overflowed since this is already a community here. So I think it's very important that you utilize the community you have, build meaningful relationships with people, and you'll actually be surprised at how much help and support you can get from people once you're open to it. So you want to, have your own sort of family that can run to for shelter, people to support you, people to celebrate your wins, people to guide you, and people to reprimand you in some cases. So yeah, you can. I mean, yeah, here. So I don't think there's so much for me to say, but you could also think more about other communities. Like personally, what I like about yoga is that it's a yoga community with other women. So I actually do enjoy being around people. So rather than just like doing it in your room or something, I also enjoy the benefits of just having people in my circle there. So I think that's like an important thing that you should also be more intentional about. I personally don't I'm not an open person, really. I'm not an open person, but I've realized that people are more willing to support you and just encourage you more than you can think. Like every single time that I've had to just like open up to somebody, and it's just there's just so much warmth, so much sweetness that really you should actually take advantage of and understand that you're not alone. So now in all of this, I think one important thing you should also know is, okay, at what point do you seek professional help? Regarding your mental health, at what points do you think, okay, I should most likely see somebody? So this is where I'm coming to. So um one thing about mental health issues is that they are not typically um odd things. That's just it. Like every mental health issue on everyone's scale would just be normal. That's the truth. So it's not abnormal for you to be sad, but at what point does the sadness bring concern? Do you get? It's not abnormal for you to be anxious about something, but at what point does that anxiousness become a problem? It's not abnormal for you want to have things color coded and always arranged, but at what point does it become OC? All right. So they're just like I think it's also important that we understand this so that you don't think to self-diagnose or diagnose other people really. So the major rule is, how do you know something's an issue? Is how does it affect your daily functioning? That's the basic rule. How does this thing affect your daily functioning? Are you sad to the extent that you can't get yourself to stand up on your bed and do something, perhaps go to class or go to work? Are you sad to the extent that you can't just get up to have food, take your bath? All right. Do you arrange things to the extent that if we're supposed to be at a meeting by 8 a.m., you would rather stay and arrange those things in color codes or however you want. All right. So it's more like, how does this thing affect your daily functioning? So are you, does it affect, how you wake up when you wake up, how you eat when you eat, how you relate with other people? That's just like the middle thing. That's what brings concern really. And if some symptoms actually persist for 2 weeks, you should actually start considering getting help, or at least sharing with somebody really. So lots of interest in things you usually find enjoyable. Maybe you used to watch movies. For instance, I read a lot. I've mentioned that multiple times. I read a lot, but one way that I know that okay, my body is crashing is when I realize that I can't read. If I can't pick up a book, I know I'm not in my best state. I've not finished anything since March. I was thinking about the other day and I was like, okay, there's actually something wrong and I think I should pay more attention. So when you realize that you've lost interest in things you usually find enjoyable, those are ways that you can use to know that okay, there's something wrong. I'm not like dancing as I used to, or I'm not, watching a movie or watching a particular sport you used to enjoy. That's something you want to then pay attention to and try to find out okay, what exactly is happening. Then we have your inability to complete usual tasks and activities. So those things you would typically do, like I said, like how does this affect your daily functioning? They're just things you have to do when you wake up. And if you're finding it difficult to do those things, then it means that okay, that's not an issue. Then feeling of irritability, frustration, or restlessness. Then we also have difficulty sleeping, changes in appetite or unplanned weight changes. So yeah, we have difficulty getting out of bed in the morning because of your mood and difficulty concentrating. So you really want to pay attention. I feel like that's why journaling is very important. I personally enjoy journaling because I think it's one way to trap myself in paper and I can actually see how I feel, because your mood changes a whole lot and all of these things changes. If you do not document them, you're probably not even going to remember them. That's just it. So it's very important that you also pay attention to it. So if you have difficulty sleeping, like I said, sleep deprivation is actually very important to your mood. Like if you don't get enough sleep, guy, it's so easy for you to just slip into depression really. So if you are finding it difficult to sleep, it's something you should pay more attention to. If you're finding it difficult to concentrate, if you're finding it difficult to get out of bed in the morning, if you're noticing changes in your appetite, you know, most times when people talk about eating disorders, they tend to focus on anorexia, which is when you're trying to be slim. But another thing is people tend to do emotional eating when you just binge eat. Maybe you're sad and you just get snacks and you're just binging on chocolates, chips, or anything. Those are things you want to pay attention to because it can actually hint you about how you feel. So, and also for some people, maybe it's you not eating. So you just want to pay attention to your body really. And when you realize that okay, these things are going on for more than 2 weeks, or it's actually affecting how you go about your day generally, these are things you want to um pick up with a professional. So yeah, I'm actually done. But yeah, the next thing here is the questions I got. So I'm just going to ask these questions now. After that, I'm going to ask questions concerning everything in total. So the first question I got is, how does a person who has experienced continuous bullying regain confidence in themselves? How does a person who has experienced continuous bullying regain confidence in themselves? I'm so sorry we had to go through that because I think bullying is just one of the I don't have words really because it's just nah. That's just it. So how do you gain confidence? So I think one thing you want to do is to challenge negative thoughts. All right. Bullying is a very psychological thing, really. The even if the you know it's even if it's physical, most of the damage is actually very psychological. All right. Because the whole point is to get you to feel little and put you in one particular position. And that's why you realize that it's always very difficult for people to stand up to their bullies because over time they'll tend to feel like, oh, maybe this person is right. So what bullies do most of the time is that you just want to plant that seed of doubt. And one thing you want to make sure that does not happen is don't let that seed grow. All right. So start on by challenging negative thoughts. All right. And one way you try negative thoughts is to replace them with affirmations. So if somebody says you're ugly, you want to tell yourself, no, I'm not ugly, I'm beautiful. And maybe you keep thinking about it and thinking, oh, maybe I'm ugly. It's very important that you challenge your thoughts and tell yourself you're beautiful. I think that's why affirmations are very important. Now, affirmations are very, they've come up as really fancy these days, but they are still very important because affirmations are a way to actually drive a particular message to your subconscious. You might not notice it immediately. It's going to take a while, really, because how you feel, like I said earlier, how you feel it just doesn't come up in one day. So you don't expect that, or maybe one day or 1 week or 1 month, you're definitely going to feel comfortable. It's a long journey and it's so much work, really, and requires like a lot of motivation. So affirmations are very important for you to reassure yourself and also challenge your current thinking. Another thing you want to do is you also want to focus on your strengths. Make a list of things you are good at, whether big or small, and celebrate your achievements. So it's not just enough for you to like challenge your thoughts. Everybody has something to be proud of, really. So that's why I make a brag list because even when I don't do anything elaborate, I still feel like there's definitely something to be proud of, which can simply be just, oh, maybe you had a good week or you were able to like eat out the week or something. So one thing you want to do here is you want to focus on your strengths. All right. You want to tell yourself, oh, I'm smart, or I know how to knit, I'm a good dancer, I'm a confident person, I learn things easily. All of those good qualities that you have, it's very important that you keep reminding yourself about it and tell yourself, okay, this is who I am. So it's more about changing the profile. So it's more about changing the profile that you currently have in your head to something else. Another thing you want to do is you want to find supportive people. All right, so you want to have people that also reaffirm you because it's like I said, it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to take time, and sometimes you would fail, but you want to be sure that there's somebody to pick you up. You also be sure that there are people to also encourage you. That's why having a community is very important. That you have people that you can be vulnerable with, people that can love you, people that can actually encourage you. So it's something that you want to have people that can also support you. Another thing you want to do is to also think of things you would love to do that will make you more confident. So if you would love to do a particular thing, let's say you would love to knit a dress or you love to learn a particular dancing style, you want to learn, you want to do that. All right. You want to deliberately build your confidence. So if you feel like, oh, I'm not smart, and then you're thinking, oh, I would love to understand how mental health works, for instance, and you decide to take a course on mental health, that can also serve as a reminder to definitely boost your confidence that, oh, I can't say I'm not smart because I did this, I know this. All right. So those are things you want to do. So again, you want to challenge the negative thoughts and also utilize affirmations. You want to focus on the things you're currently good at. You want to surround yourself with supportive people, and also you want to learn new skills that would also build your confidence. I think surrounding yourself with supportive people is very, very important because sometimes these bullies are usually in our friend group or circles, and it's just so it aches me really. Sometimes it just aches me to watch because I feel like you want to challenge the problem. So if you realize that okay, maybe it's a particular friend that is making you feel this way. If the thing is, if you keep staying around that friend, all your efforts are going to be put out. So you must also not be afraid to cut off the wrong people. You want to be around people that support you, people that love you. Mm. So if you realize that okay, maybe these people I'm currently surrounded by are my problem, let them go. And you always find people that work for you. So the next question is why do you think it's difficult for people to leave abusive relationships? The thing about abusive relationship again, it's a psychological thing. The reason why people do not leave abusive relationships is because they do not know or they're in denial that the relationship is abusive. One thing you must understand is that nobody walks into an abusive relationship. That's just it. It might seem to you that, oh, there are a lot of red flags, but the truth is, when a person was getting into a relationship, they trusted the abusive partner and they perhaps still trust the abusive partner. So it's going to be very difficult for you to tell them, oh, your boyfriend is gaslighting you. They're going to tell you no, that no, because they trust that he loves them so much and he cares about them so much that there is no way the boyfriend could gaslight them. So, and one thing about abuse is that it's very difficult, especially when you love the person, it's very difficult for you to want to admit that okay, this person is a bad person. It can even be your parents, really. Sometimes it's just hard that you can find like maybe that oh, your mom is not like the most encouraging person, or your mom is not like the sweetest person. Your mom says a lot of not so nice things, and but you love your mom. And I just thinking, oh, my mom should love me. It's going to be hard for you to reconcile that with the fact that okay, perhaps maybe your mom is abusive. So when you put yourself in their shoes, you understand that it's something that they are probably like struggling with, or they're finding it difficult to understand. And it's just nobody would ever believe that the person that they love, they love the person and they believe the person loves them. It's definitely hard for you to come and tell that person, oh, this is abusive. And even if they see some things, it's also hard for them to admit it because they're thinking, oh, this should not be it, but this person loves me, so maybe it's not gaslighting, maybe it's not this, that. Do you get? So what I would advise you do is another reason why it's hard really is because there's just no medium for them to live. I mean, one of the reasons why women stay in abusive marriages is because they do not have financial capacity. So if you're telling them, oh, leave your husband, they're thinking, how am I going to afford rent? How am I going to pay the school fees? So it's quite nuanced really. It's not just that if the people actually recognize that now they're being abused, it's just definitely hard for them to like cut them off. It even happens with parents really. Like sometimes you hear people talk and oh, you realize that their parents are quite abusive, but they're thinking, I can't leave the house because oh, I don't who's going to pay my school fees, my parents are going to disown me and all of that. So it's really, really hard. So I feel what should you do with this person? I would say what you should do is to have a safety plan, really. And you want to set things like shelter, financial things really, because it's not just easy. Most times your abuser can actually be the person you're financially dependent on. So before you tell the person to leave, you want to make sure you have this settled because it will be more motivation for them to think, okay, now I can leave. So another thing you want to do is to also educate yourself about the dynamics of abuse, understand how abuse works. Like I said, it's very psychological, and most times even the victims are struggling with understanding it. So it's going to be hard for you to convince them, and you have to understand that it's hard for you to convince them. Then you might also want to like talk to another friend or talk to a therapist on how to guide them. And also, you want to just talk to them about um being treated with respect. So I had a particular issue last year with a very young girl, and I realized she was in an abusive relationship with an older guy. And that was very difficult for me to step in, because like I said, she would not believe me when I tell her her boyfriend is being abusive. So what I did was just to plant seed of doubt in her head. So you want to make sure, okay, first the person is comfortable talking to you. When the person is comfortable talking to you, you want to ask them questions like, "Are you happy? How's the relationship been?" Now they're definitely going to lie to you, but the whole point is not really to get them to open up to you. The whole point is to get them to question what's going to happen in that relationship. So every time I would meet her, we talk, and I'll tell her, "Oh, I'll just ask her, oh, how are you doing lately? How are things with your boyfriend? Blah 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 blah." And while I'm talking, I'm just like, "Oh, nice. Are you happy?" She always hesitated answering me, and then she go on to tell me yes. I could tell she was lying, but my goal there was not to have her come and tell me, "Oh, yes, my boyfriend is abusive." I knew that was going to take a lot of work. I just had to like plant those sort of doubts in her head, really. And I also got to hire a journal, because I think it's a very good tool for reflection. So I got a journal, and I just give her some journaling prompts, really, that will just make her, think about what has been happening lately and just question things. So, like I said, you can't help somebody that's not motivated to want to take that particular situation. It's going to be hard. So you want to first get them on your side, because if you do not get them on your side, they're probably just going to hate you to become a situation of who sent you. They were happy, or that's why you hear cases of, let's say, your friend had issues with her boyfriend and they went to settle it, and now you're the bad person. They get. So you want to make sure this person is on your side. It's going to take a long time, because it's something that they're going to be struggling with. But you have to give them time. You also have to be patient and just like stick through, and just want to make sure that, and also let them know that you can talk to them. That's just it. Also, that they can talk to you, rather. Let them know that they can talk to you. So once you start asking questions about how they're feeling, or just general questions, they might not open up at first, but gradually they'll begin to open up the more you ask those questions. But don't don't do too much. Basically, don't do too much. But that's just something you can do, because if they do not realize it, really, they are not going to have any reason to want to leave. They're just going to feel like, "Oh yeah, intruding." So you also have to understand how abuse work, really. You want to understand how the person's head is, because if you were also in their shoes, you too would not believe that you are being in an abusive relationship. So the next question is, how do you handle pressure and feelings of overwhelm? Yeah, this particular one is also, dear to me. I'm always everywhere, and I'm always having things to do, and sometimes I just get so tired and I can't do anything. But you know, one thing I like to do is I just like to like pause. There are moments where I'm just like, you know what, I'm going on a break. So when you feel a lot of pressure, I think it's very important that, I think first it's great that you already realize that you're feeling a lot of pressure, because sometimes you might actually be feeling a lot of pressure, and it's not something that you even notice. You just, I think that was last year, maybe last year or the last 2 years, I was very, very overwhelmed, and I didn't notice it till I didn't have anything to do at some point, and I just realized that it's like my whole world just stopped, and I just realized like, wow, I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything that I have to, worry about or something. So it's just so unexpected. So I think first it's great that if you realize that, um if it's great when you realize that, okay, this pressure exists, and it also helps you just pause, take a break, just take a break, really. And what do you do within this break, or what do you do still in this moment? So first you want to identify what exactly is stressing you. Sometimes when I find myself being stressed again, I'm just thinking, um, okay, I make a list of all the things I'm currently doing or all my worries, and I'm trying to find out which one is stressing me. So you want to identify, okay, what exactly is happening. Yeah, I was very, very stressed last year. And so I actually realized that I'd made too much commitment in a particular organization. And it was actually hard for me to notice because I just felt like, oh, I'm doing a lot, I'm doing a lot, maybe just everything I'm doing. But when I actually made a list of everything else, and I realized that, oh, this is exactly where this stress is coming from. And I had to make a decision about what I wanted to do. And so I decided to step down from being an escort to say that okay, I want to partner with the organization, but I'm not sure I want to be an escort anymore because it's just too much for me to handle at this point. So yeah, I think it's very important that in situations like that you know identify what exactly is the problem and try to find out okay what you want to do in that situation or what can be done in that situation. So after finding the problem again, yeah, you want to prioritize really. That's basically what I had to do. I had to think, okay, if I'm doing this, do a pros and cons list. Is this important? What do I gain from doing this? What do I lose from doing this? Is this something that I really want to do? Then you also have to set boundaries. You get now me telling them I no longer want to be an expo. That's me setting a boundary that okay, at this point I can no longer stretch myself. I'm going to be part of the organization, but I need you to understand that I can't do this. So you have to set boundaries and do things that make you relax too. So you want to now that I have more free time, I'm looking forward to dancing more salsa. Really, I'm just do something fun and just relax. So I think it's very important again you identify the stressor. You want to make a priority list. Why does this matter? What do I lose from doing this? What do I gain from doing this? If you think okay, it's still important to you, and whatever you stand to gain is very, very important, you should go ahead with it. But if you feel oh it's something that's not so important, you can let it go, or I can't produce it, please just always prioritize yourself really. So the next one is how do we support loved ones suffering from mental health issues? So I have a role, and people are always surprised because I'm a mental health advocate, but that's a rule I stick to because I've realized it's very helpful. So how do you support loved ones suffering from mental health illnesses? So my rule is I'm not going to date anybody that has a mental health illness that's not getting professional help. So I would never date anybody that has a mental illness that's not getting professional help. I think one thing you want to understand when you have people that are going through mental health illnesses around you is that first, you're not a therapist. You do not owe it. I think it's very important really because one thing is it's very easy when you're in relationships with people, perhaps friends, lovers, or even siblings. It's very easy for you to like blow the line and think, oh, I can save this person. You are not a therapist. And even if you are then a therapist, because of your personal relationship with the person, it is not ideal for you to be the one to come and step in a bit to fix, quote unquote, to fix this person. So how do you care for people that have mental health illnesses that are close to you? I think one thing you want to do is to first understand their specific condition. You want to know what exactly is this person dealing with. That helps you know the weight of what you're working into really. So you want to be clear of okay, how much work does this not even how much work does this like just like how severe is this whole thing? Like you want to have a full picture of what exactly you are dealing with. So is it ADHD? Is it depression? Is it bipolar? Is it multiple personalities disorder? You want to be clear about okay, what exactly is this person battling with? So you also want to be a safe space. And why are a safe space? Like I said, you are not a therapist. The only thing you can do is to guide them towards getting professional help. I think that should be the ultimate goal. You don't want to get yourself into a situation where you then begin to feel overwhelmed. It's something that I've done multiple times, and that's why I just told myself that no, even if you are my friend, as much as I love you, I'm not going to step in to um to play the role of a therapist. I would only encourage you to seek professional help, because one thing I've noticed is that if you choose to take that burden on yourself, it becomes overwhelming on you, because you are not equipped to do that. And also your personal relationship with the person doesn't even make it ideal. So it's very easy for things to like get mixed up, and then it's just um now you're just stressed and you don't know what to do, or you're just like just so overwhelmed and tired of handling the whole situation, and now it's beginning to affect your own mental health. So you want to draw the line, you want to have that firm boundary that okay, if I'm going to be like stepping in as a counselor or advising you, I'm not going to be friends with you. I definitely need to have that boundary where okay, I know this is exactly what I'm doing. So it's very important that now in situations perhaps where you cannot like say, oh, you don't want to be friends with the person, or you don't want to, or you can't just call the person, or perhaps a parent, sibling, or very close friend. What you want to do is to always, 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 always prioritize them getting professional help. Don't ever make them feel like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be the one to um solve their problems or help them, or be I feel like just don't have that savior complex really. Don't have that need to, oh, I want to help this person. You can only support them. While you support them, be there for them, and then you can help them find a therapist or any resources that they need. And you can also be there as their community, you can be there as their safe space, somebody they can come and talk to and be open with. But don't try to get into that professional mood of trying to always, advise. And if see really at some point you realize that things are beyond you, and you just really have to tell them, okay, why don't you try to see a therapist? Of course, they're going to be reluctant, and it's really going to take time for you to convince somebody to see a therapist. But you have to be there and to support them, so you eventually then convince them that okay, maybe we should try this. Maybe you should try this counselor, or there's this particular therapist I think you wouldn't mind seeing. And sometimes you can encourage them by trying to foot some of the bills. That's something I do too. That okay, if we're going to do this, I think I don't mind covering the bills, or I don't mind covering half of the bills. That's another way you can actually encourage them. So it's not a situation where they have to, worry about the whole psychological stress and novelty of seeing a therapist plus the financial burden. So there are other ways you can really support people, and you could just be their safe space where they can just come and feel relaxed and you encourage them. But don't again, just don't ever feel like it's a thing you can handle by yourself. Okay, so the first question is, what are some of the most misconceptions people have about mental health? So I don't have an answer here because my slide already covered that. So how does one differentiate mood swings and signs of a mental health condition? So like I said earlier, it really depends on how these things affect your daily functioning and if they persist for 2 weeks. So if you realize you have mood swings and it's making you difficult to just get about daily tasks such as let's say commuting to work, class, or just taking your bath, eating, sleeping. Once you realize that it's affecting like basic things like that, that's when you know okay, it's getting pretty serious. All right. Then another thing is mood swings are temporary. So like I said, if it persists for more than 2 weeks, at least once persists for 2 weeks straight, that's something you know that okay, this is pretty serious. So that's how you can differentiate mood swings and signs of a mental health condition. So many people struggle seventh here. Many people struggle with seeking help for mental concerns due to fear of being stigmatized or being called mad. What advice would you give to this person? Okay, yeah, I think this is a real one here. So I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to really come into terms with the fact that they have a particular mental health issue. I, for one, I actually struggled with admitting that I had depression because I just felt like, oh no, there is no way that I have depression, but I did have depression. So it's pretty hard. But I feel like one thing you want to do in that situation is that understand that you're not alone. Like these things are quite common. So it's not, while it might not be so discussed, it's not something that you are going through alone. I think that's why support groups are also very important because they really make you feel um you know not alone. And when you realize you're not alone, it's a lot easier to navigate these things. It's not a problem that is unique to you, really. Um yes, please, you can type your questions. So yeah, if you have questions, I think you should type it. So when I'm done with this, I'll just move to that. So understand that there's nothing new in this world, really. Um, there's a quote in my head from James Baldwin. Yeah, so the quote says, "You think your pain and heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but when you read, you actually realize that other people have gone through it." So again, it's not, understand that it's not unique to you. There's nothing new under the sun. And that's something I like to tell myself, especially like when I have issues. But it's mostly when I have issues in school. Like let's say for instance now I miss a test and maybe somebody's panicking beside me or something, I'll just be like, see, we'll not be the first people to miss a test in this school. That's just the truth. So there's nothing new. If you, let's say, oh, I lost my school ID card and then somebody's trying to make me feel like, oh, I should start running over and crying. In my head, I know I'm not the first person to have misplaced the school ID card. So now this might actually seem like trivial things, but that's just the truth. There's nothing new. So even if you don't know anybody that's gone through it, or you've not read about anybody that's gone through your situation, just know that this has definitely happened before and people have definitely gotten help. So first, you're not alone. And another thing is, it's all right if you do not feel comfortable regarding particular issue or how you feel or struggling with something. That's totally fine. There are other ways you can actually get help anonymously, and as you know, it's not compulsory you have to be so open about it. If you want to be discreet about it, go ahead and be discreet about it. It's not, like I said, I'm not an open person, you get. So I understand what it's like for you not want to talk, for you not wanting to talk or share. It's just, it doesn't mean that, oh, you can't get help or people have to know every single thing about you. So yeah, I also think that one thing you should focus on is just focus on getting better. All right, because at the end of the day, if people stigmatize you, people call you mad, people say things aren't true, what you really want to be bothered by is your own life. That's just the truth because you can never please people. So don't ever prioritize their opinions. All right. So you have to just focus on, okay, what do you want? People always want different things. If you talk to five people on a particular situation, they'll definitely have five different opinions. So you can't prioritize that. But one thing you want to, that's why it's very important that you love yourself really. Because it's one thing you want to do is to always just think, okay, what do I want? Or if it was a friend, what would I tell my friend? I think that's another way, that's like an easy trick for you to know how to deal with yourself. If it was another person in the situation, what would you tell the person? What would you encourage the person to do? And all those things that you tell your friend, that you tell the other person, those are things you want to do to yourself, really. So what are the tips you will give? Okay, what are the tips you will give to help one day will burn out? Okay, so I think this is very similar to the one on pressure. Really, you just want to again pause what's happening, identify what your stress, what your stressor is. You also want to, set boundaries. If you are working an organization, you want to delegate tasks. I feel like that's something um you also want to like do. If you realize that, oh, maybe you're doing too much, you want to delegate tasks, you want to pull back on some things, you want to say no, and you want to like take breaks for relaxation, really. Like I said, when I realized that, okay, I wasn't getting enough rest and I was just feeling burnt out, I have to like extend my sleep time and tell myself, okay, by 11, I have to sleep. If I'm up by 11, I'm not going to 5 minutes, I'm not going to working on anything serious. I'm just scrolling Instagram and checking news and I will not reply. I stopped it really. And I told myself, okay, I'm not going to wake up anything earlier than 6. So those are things you want to like do as much as possible. As much as you can do them, go ahead to do them. So try to just make more time to relax. So how does one communicate boundaries in relationships? I think this is a pretty interesting one, really. Um, so I think with how relationship works, these conversations are like pretty difficult, and most times they are just passed through subtle messages, and you just find yourself doing something, and then when you see something, you just want to uh you just want to like keep quiet, and I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel like most times in relationship people are not open. You want to, it's your brother that's coming to my head. you you just want to say through your actions and just like give subtle hints on it. That's what most people do. But actually answered this one personally because I think that's the best way that I can answer it. So how does one communicate boundaries in relationships? So one thing I like to prioritize in relationships, it really depends on the relationship. One thing I like to prioritize in relationships is actually like clear communication. That's just it, clear communication. I'm always going to say my mind, and it's going to be a difficult one. That's just, I feel like we want to be open to difficult conversations because we're going to have that conversation. They're going to be tense. I'm going to be tense, but we're definitely going to have that conversation, and we're not going to leave to we're done with that conversation. That's just it. So I feel like first you want to get into a habit of having difficult conversations because it just helps you express things better. I'm quite um I'm typically just a straightforward person. I don't know how to decorate things really. So what I do really is I'm just going to tell you, okay, this is exactly my needs and my expectations. And um you have to be clear about that, you have to be firm about it. And let the other person know, okay, this is what I'm going to do, or this is how I feel about this thing, and this is what I'm going to do for this reason. And depending on what the situation is, sometimes I don't feel like I have to justify myself. I'm just going to tell you, oh, this is how I feel about this thing, and this is what my expectations are, and or this is what I think I need. So really, depending on what it is, sometimes I just feel like justification at times might not be so comfortable, all right. So you don't have to like force yourself to start explaining to somebody why exactly you want that particular thing. They don't have to know why you want that thing. They should just know that okay, this is how you feel about it, and this is what you want to do. And another thing is you also want to ask them, okay, what exactly are they thinking about? You want to make sure it's two-sided. You get want to make sure, okay, you're also being considerate about their own feelings too and their own wants. And it's like, for instance, now in friendships, there are things that, okay, maybe let's say, for instance, I'm trying to think about something that can, okay, let's say for instance, uh friendships, yeah, let's say now this is very, it's almost trivial, but I don't want to think it's trivial because sometimes I'm pretty serious. Let's say for instance, um maybe you don't want your friend, what can I call it? Maybe you don't want your friend wearing your clothes now, and you want to tell her, okay, don't do it, right? So maybe she has done it a couple of times. That's just it. If the relationship is pretty new, I feel like there are things you could tell people early on. Do you get? Or maybe it's just a conversation that you could have and just be like, oh, what do you think about this? This is what I think about this particular situation. I don't like to share my clothes with people. But let's say you didn't have the opportunity to do that, and she's wearing your clothes consistently, and now you want to bring that up. You can just tell her, sit her down one day and say, oh, you've been doing this, and this is how I feel about the situation, and I just want to I don't ever want you to wear my clothes. It doesn't mean I don't like you or I hate you. It just means that I'm not comfortable with it, and I would love it if you can respect my decision. You see, one thing I like to do in conversations like this is I always tell people, I would love it if you can respect my decision. Thank you for understanding. Because that way, I already push it to you that it's non-negotiable, really. So I think you want to learn how to be firm when you're making decisions like that. You just want to know what is going on with the other person too, because you don't want a situation whereby, oh, you are just setting boundaries and then you're not being nice to the other person, or you don't care about the other person's boundary. I don't feel like with things about boundaries, it's just best you say it as openly as possible, because sometimes it's just you don't want to leave it to chances or to hints. People would not get it, so it's just best to open your mouth and say it. All right, so other ways to curb overthinking. So I think there's something I've already addressed. I think one of my favorite these days is wouldn't matter in a week, wouldn't matter in months, wouldn't matter in years. I think it's like very, very important really, because what put things in perspective. How important is this thing, or how likely is this thing how likely can this thing happen? One thing about overthinking is they're thinking, okay, you just tend to go overboard, and sometimes they're not realistic. So you want to ask yourself, okay, is this something? If this thing happen, okay, if this thing happens, um, is this something I can go back to change? The chances, how high are the chances of this thing happening, and how certain do I need to be? Because sometimes you just realize that, okay, maybe you're not so certain about it, and it's not something you should think about. I actually have a list of questions that I have on my bed. According to my mouth, I just gone through it. But I just like sometimes I'm finding it difficult trying to like make a decision, or I'm overthinking things. I'm just constantly run through the question. Okay, would it matter in a week, a year? This thing you're worried about, how likely is it for it to happen? And then if it happens, is it something you can move on from? Is it something you can change? So you just want to cover all ground really, and you just realize that, oh, okay, well, if it happens, I can actually get back on the right track. And if it doesn't happen, or you just realize that, okay, maybe it's might not happen. That's when you're thinking, okay, how certain am I at the end of the day? And you realize, oh, I can't be certain about this thing, so I guess I don't have to like give it so much thought or bother myself about it. And one thing I've come to realize these days is that you can be multiple things. That's just it. Sometimes I just look at other people's story and I'm wondering, how did they go through all of this and they're still here? And so give yourself permission to feel at times that's just it, because I just feel like, okay, if it's fucked up, yeah, it's fucked up, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that it's not something I can't get back from. Do you ever think there's anything you can't get back from? There's always a way out. There's always like a new narrative to things, and it's never too late for you to just find the thing you want. So I just feel like, yeah, if it ends up being bad, well, I know I still have more years to live and I can change the narrative. So the last one I have here is, for a person who has a lot of negative life experience, how can they stay resilient in tough times and learn to love themselves? That's another long one. So just like I was saying earlier, give yourself permission to feel. Really, everybody makes mistakes, and I feel like one difficult thing in life is just learning to forgive yourself. It's all right for you to make mistakes. I feel like that's just it. And like I was saying earlier, just always know that there's room to change the narrative. Really, there's always room for you to change the narrative. That's just it. There's nothing static in life. Yeah. There's just like so many things in my head right now already, because there's nothing static in life. Be yourself, Like I'm just thinking, for instance, now as I was reading about this particular lady. I'm subscribed to her newsletter. I don't know if you know her, the Lagos Stories. And recently she was talking about how she got married. And she was married for 2 years. That was like very surprising because I think she's just 26. She was married for 2 years, divorced and all of that. And she had a life-threatening health issue and like so many other things. And I just look at her and I'm wondering, how does this person go through all of this and she's fine? And sometimes I look at my mom too that way because if my mom, like when my mom like begins to, like when I just think about my mom and think, okay, this is all the things that my mom have been through and this man is still happy. Sometimes I feel like our role models are not like so far from us really. And I'm just thinking, oh, my mom is still happy, my mom is still like chilling goals, my mom is still doing a lot of things. It just makes me think, uh there's nothing that can happen that would not pass. I think that's just it. Like that's just one thing. So I feel like you just always have to be hopeful about the future. Do you ever feel like this is the last point? Just think, okay, this is just going to be a moment. You might not know how, but eventually things are definitely just going to change. All right. So I think you want to view them as opportunities for growth. And one thing I like to do personally, I use it to encourage my friends when maybe one of us is down or something. And I don't like seeing by the time you pass these challenges and you're telling your success story will be sweet. People be like, ah, this girl suffered so much and she still made it. So one thing I like to do really is just try to imagine yourself in your perfect life and how all of those opportunities just adds, flavor to your experience. It's hard really, but it just adds like, I don't know how to s- at the end of the day, they're just going to be like experiences, and you're just going to be somewhere and just been thinking, oh wow, this thing came and it's passed, and I'm here. Really. So I also think you want one thing you want to do concerning loving yourself. Loving yourself takes time. It takes a lot of time. It's like there's so much that goes into loving yourself. I'm not sure I have like so much time to get into it. But again, I'll just say you want to always prioritize yourself, okay? Try to try to try to encourage yourself. I find the easiest way to just love yourself is try to encourage yourself like somebody else. Okay, what would you say to your friend? What would you tell to your friend to keep going? That's just it. Sorry, I need to quickly reply text. So you want to encourage yourself like somebody else. I feel like it's just a whole lot easier. That's like the best way I can explain it. And again, there are always little things that you can be grateful for. So yeah, the first question here is your mental illness. Yeah, Naomi,
Hi,
please.
Sapphire. Thank you so much for the session. It's been an insightful past 1 hour 45 minutes. I have learned so much. I've taken so much notes. So, my dear, for the next 15 minutes, I just want the session to be a bit more interactive. So, if people that have typed on the chat, if they're able to speak, could they unmute themselves and read their questions out?
Oh,
Just
sure.
all right. Thank you. So, Hansen, I've seen your question. Sean. Sean Hansen, are you on the call? Go ahead. So why I don't know if they're on the call, but I do have a question.
All
Um,
right.
and I think this is towards the beginning of the session. So one of the things you said is okay, first I want to say I resonated a lot with like the weight gain when you were talking about the weight gain because I had a series, not even just one, a series of unpleasant events some time ago, I think last week. And it made me, ponder and reflect. And I'm so glad you talked about it. It helped me to like shed more light and really understand that you have to adjust with yourself, as in real time as you are changing. So you don't just wake up one day and you don't like yourself anymore. But my question really here is you mentioned stress being good. In what way? And I know that there are types of stress. There's good stress, there's bad stress. So how do you understand, or how do you know when you are moving from the positive stress to the negative stress? Because sometimes you are constantly working yourself, you're constantly doing this and trying to be productive. So how do we make sure that the productivity does not turn to like negative stress, if that makes sense?
Oh, all right. So I think concerning stress is the thing about stress. I think it's more about how it challenges you. Really, it's just about how it motivates you, and you just focus your energy, and it's you're trying to get something right. So it's just more like, okay, how exactly do you use this thing to be productive? So how do you differentiate the negative stress from positive stress? I feel like generally it's definitely hard for you to control stress to an extent, because sometimes it's just like external factor and you just have to like deal with it. You have to like show up to work every day, you have to go to class, you have to do assignments and all that. But one thing you can do is, it's like again being in tune in your body. When do you feel yourself shutting down? I feel like um you have to have like this, will I say, monthly or weekly sessions with yourself, just to like keep in touch and think, okay, what exactly is happening. I think that is when, but sometimes I get like really stressed and I don't notice it because I'm just like moving through. But when I have to like journal, it just makes me realize that, okay, I've been doing too much. So there are things like you want to notice, because typically you might find yourself, okay, perhaps you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, or you're not doing things that you love to do. Just those things, you don't want to like just ignore them. They are actually very important. So for instance, now if I just find out that, oh, I'm actually finding it hard to read, and I know that, okay, maybe I should pay attention to my recent activities and what has been going on. So I just feel like you want to really be in tune with your body. I'd say that's like key, because then it's easier for you to recognize when something is off. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. That really helps to like clarify things for me. So I see that Sean and Hanson have their hands up. So Sean, you can go first because your question is coming first.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you to the speaker. You really said a lot of things, and I've learned so much in this session. I'm really, really grateful. I just have one question here. Um, sometimes you're saying, maybe like as a person, you're like, oh, this is something is wrong with me, I feel something is wrong with me, and you're sure something is wrong with you, but people tend to like say, oh, you don't really have a diagnosis, so like, are you really sure, or you're just faking it, or it's not happening? So like, is your mental illness invalid if you don't have, like, you're not diagnosed by a certified professional? I don't know if I put it right like that, but is it valid, or something actually wrong with you, or is something not wrong with you because you don't have a diagnosis?
All right, thank you so much, Sean. Personally, I'm going to be biased with this question because we live in Nigeria, and I'm going to say yes, it's valid. Because if we want to be realistic here, it's not, we don't just walk in and get a diagnosis. There's hardly any place for that. That's just the truth. So I'm definitely going to take your diagnosis like serious if it's like self-diagnosed, because I understand that we do not have um mental health facilities readily available for you to actually just go in and get one. So I just feel like people that say that they're just trying to uh act work or something doesn't make any sense to me really, because nobody just I don't know if you understand me, but really we live in Nigeria. You can't just go to a clinic and they'll probably not even have a psychologist available. Do you get? If you go to a hospital, you probably have to like wait, and most times you just realize that it's perhaps a counselor or something. So it really takes a lot of time for you to actually get diagnosis and a lot of money, which it's not. Not everybody can just afford that. So I don't think it's invalid. However, though, I think you should be careful with what exactly you are doing, because again, you have to recognize that you are not a therapist, you are not a professional. So there's only a limit to what you can think, and you don't really understand how exactly to diagnose yourself. So why you might feel like, oh, I feel this way, I feel this way, it's probably it. I think that's great. And you might try to, want to get help regarding that. It gives you more sense of security about what's happening. I think that's great. But at the same time, you don't want to then feel like that is it. I don't know how to explain it, but you don't want to get to stuck on one particular thing, because different illnesses might have like similar symptoms. So why you might think it's one particular thing can also be another one. Do you get? So at the same time, you want to be aware that okay, this is not static, this is not confirmed, which should also, and another reason why I think you want to be aware that it's not confirmed, it's so that you also treat yourself properly. Because sometimes you might feel like, oh, I have this thing, and because you have this thing, you just tend to feel like, oh, this is just like what's wrong with me. Like for instance, now if you're thinking, oh, I have HDHD because I can't concentrate and all of that, that can also be, yeah, now there are even like various kinds of HDHD at the end of the day. And because there is really no like self-help tips concerning ADHD, and then lost on what to do. And in that position, you definitely cannot prescribe meds for yourself. You get, and then you might be able to get a diagnosis and discover that it's not HDHD. I had somebody that was once he thought it was bipolar, and it ended up being HDHD. So there are situations like that. That's why I want you to know that okay, while you might think okay, I have bipolar, understand that it's not confirmed, because I was thinking, do you know what it means for you to be living for like 2 years thinking you have bipolar, and then eventually you had money for a diagnosis and discovered it was just HDHD all along? For me, that's going to be like a huge relief. Do you get? So, but then it's still, so it's just like, understand it's not confirmed, but I still think it's quite valid, because at least try to get more information about what's happening with you and how to trying to get help as in your own little way. But again, understand it's not confirmed. So when you're treating yourself or you're thinking about yourself, put that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Like, you've answered this question in the best possible way ever, and I'm really grateful and relieved with everything you've said. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you.
All right. Hanson, go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I want to say, yeah, I've learned a lot from your section, and thank you for the privilege to do. My question here is, what additional tips to follow in order to cope your mental health problem? You included do things that will make you comfortable in your own skin. Now, my question there is it okay to undergo surgical enhancement procedure to help you uplift your self-esteem or confidence in yourself? And the question two here is, I feel most of the tips in curbing mental health problem only applies to certain class of people in the society. Because almost all the tips afford mentioned sounds really cool, but not everyone can afford that. In a case where all you do is hustle, try to earn a living, or even a day meal, most people don't really have time for all the stuff like that. Though they need it, but they don't really have time. So what advice would you give to someone in such situation?
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. So starting from the first one, that is it okay to undergo surgical enhancement procedure? Okay, I think the first one is, I think that two things in your skin is linked to the second one, right?
No, 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 no.
It's
That is
separated. Okay. So do
yeah.
things that make you comfortable in your own skin. It's just people have different things that make them comfortable. That's it. So you want to find out what exactly works for you, because people are just different, really. For instance, now I mentioned I dance salsa. I have a Muslim friend that doesn't dance salsa because she not only because she's Muslim, really, because I know like Muslim person that dances salsa, but this particular girl just don't. She just does not enjoy being like in close proximity with strangers, because sometimes people you dance with are not people you know. You get, so for instance now she's not comfortable with that. So you want to figure out what exactly works for you. I'm not just going to say, oh, everybody here should dance salsa simply because I enjoy dancing salsa and I find it relaxing. They get so being comfortable in your own skin is just trying to figure out, okay, what exactly works for you. What do you think is um what do you think is your own way of handling specific situation? They get so it's just about finding yourself, finding, okay, this is what I like and this is what I do. There are people that enjoy going to the gym, and there are some that just enjoy, you know, working out at home. There are people that find cooking relaxing. Some people do not find cooking relaxing. And being comfortable in your skin too is just more like you being comfortable in your skin. So it's just more like you just like embracing every part of you and just like not having to compare, but really just being like, okay, this is who I am and this is what I have to do with it. You get that's why I actually thought it's linked to the second question, because I think they can be said to be similar, really. And I think it's very interesting because I was just discussing this with my friend recently, where talking about one popular, I don't know if you've seen the Joy Soap ad where they had this woman and another woman discussing, and the woman was just talking about why they prioritize light skinned people basically. And my friend was saying, oh, she thinks it's valid if people want to bleach their skin with how much that skin girls has been shamed. Now, I'm not opposed to undergoing surgical enhancements to make you feel better, confident in yourself. The only thing I want to know is what exactly is the motivation. It's the same way when people feel like, oh, they want to add weight to feel happier, or and so people feel they want to lose weight to feel happier. I just want to know, why exactly are you doing that? Because what if you do this and you still don't feel happy? Because it's not a guarantee. You also have to put that into consideration. So the major thing you want to question is the motivation. Are you doing this solely because you want to conform to societal standards to please other people, or is this something you personally want? So, for instance, now conversations like this, I actually use my bubble man as an example. For instance, now people are like, oh, if I have a chance, would I get a bigger butt? Yes, I would. But is my motivation for that because I think my bum is small now, or because I think, oh, people will like me better if my bum is big? No. If I'm going to get a big bum, is for myself because I will like it. So you want to be sure that your motivation is very personal. It's stemming from you. And I think one way you can be guaranteed that your motivation is stemming from is, start from you, is when you are comfortable with your current situation. Now it might not be like 100% comfortable, but you should know that you should be in a place where if you can't change that thing, you will still be confident. Do you get? So that way it makes you a whole more guaranteed that, okay, with or with this, without this thing, you are just a whole lot more confident. Now me, please. I feel like I've spent so much time. I'm so sorry, guys.
Oh no, that's okay. I have a question. So after Hanson's question, I just want to ask one more question.
Oh, all right then. So another thing you want to pay attention to is, if you're going to, do this surgery, how are you like paying attention to how it can go? Do you get, because you also want to be realistic in your expectations. One of my favorite books that I think actually talks about this is Love at First Sight. I forgot the name of the author currently, but it was actually about this guy. He had he was born blind and eventually was able to do his surgery, but the surgery wasn't guaranteed to work. And by the time he was able to do it, he had a very blurry vision. So it's almost as good as nothing. And at the end of the day, they found out there was actually issues with the surgery and was eventually going to go blind again for the second time. So one thing you want to pay attention to is, okay, if this thing doesn't go as I want, am I sure I'm going to be able to like deal with this thing? That's what I'm saying. It's very important that you're already confident before you go with it, so that if it fucks up, still doesn't affect your confidence. You must be willing to embrace the changes that your body go through. That's why, like I said, mental health is not like a one-off thing. It's something you have to be fluid with. Like as your body changes, you have to also go along with it, because you're going to be stuck with this body forever. You're going to be with yourself forever. So the only thing you can do is to love yourself. At least self-love is the only guaranteed love in this life, really. So I think you want to think about that. You also want to think about what it's like embracing this new body, because it's a new you, and you might not be comfortable in this new you. Like that, I have a particular friend, and she used to be like very thin, and people would be like, oh, she could never get fat and all of that, but eventually she added weight, and she felt happy, and now she's trying to lose weight, because navigating the world as a big girl is not easy. That's just it, really. So people always have something to say about your body. People are nice to you, so it's just like a whole new thing to do with. Like people just talk about how they used to be fat and then they lost weight, and now people are complaining about how thin they are. So you need to understand that people are getting comments at any side. I don't know if you get me. So you want to put that into consideration that, okay, if I'm going to do this, let's say you get BBL, people will definitely talk. Do you get? So you have to make sure that your motivation again and your confidence is already on a good level, because if you're doing it for societal reasons, you would not please anybody. You would not please everybody. So you just have to make sure, okay, I'm doing this because I'm pleasing myself. All right. So your next question is actually talking about how these tips are just like to a certain people, and not everybody can afford it. So yeah, I actually do get you. I think mental health is a luxury on some days. That's why we're trying to make sure it's just like basic health, really, or just fundamental health. So because it's well fundamental. So the thing about this kind of situation, I feel like this is really hinged on what our work culture is like, and we can't separate like financial issues and poverty. That's why I still mentioned that, oh, people might just feel like if I have money, it's be a lot easier for me to like deal with this. But even if you have money, it's not a guarantee that you'll be able to still handle these things, because our relationships with other people are very important. Our work-life balance is very important. How we think about ourselves too is also very important. So it's not like, oh, the presence of money will solve the whole situation. So what exactly do you do now if you can't um like afford all these practices and all of that? I think there are basic things that people can still be able to do. But I just feel like one thing you want to do really is to, try to create time. Because if you have time, I feel it's a lot easier for you to do other things. I also think that's why community is important, because even if you don't have like time to do certain things, if you are in a community, it's a lot easier for you to like share your feelings. If you have friends, you don't have to have multiple friends. You can just have one or two friends, somebody you can talk to. That can be very, very relieving, because sometimes it's just about sharing how you feel and just having somebody to just be there for you, to hug you, and to just listen to you. It could just be as simple as that. It could be as simple as writing. That's why I talk about journaling a lot. It could just be as simple as writing. It could be as simple as taking a walk and thinking about how you feel, or just trying to clear your head. Do you get? So sometimes these things are not so elaborate. They are just things that, okay, you want to try to even cook something new. Just think, oh, maybe I should try cooking this new soup. So it could just be very, very simple things. That's just it. Well, I feel like the easiest way that you can actually improve your mental health, and it's not like the most obvious way, it's just really being part of something. And I think that's where church comes in. I feel like church is actually a good community, really. I'm not a religious person, but I actually do see church as a very good community, because you go there every Sunday, you meet people, you listen to music, it can be relaxing, and if you're a religious person, praying to is also very helpful. Just having that sense of somebody watching over you, or having somebody like help you solve your issues and deal with it, praying can be very relaxing, really. So it doesn't have to be like so elaborate really. And so you just go to these places. It could be where you meet people, have fun, somebody hugs you, somebody you can talk to, pray, cry, just share, onboarding yourself to God. That can be so, so, so relaxing. It's something I encourage really, because I don't think it doesn't cost you anything to pray. Do you get? So it's not hard. So really these things are not you don't have to. That's why I prioritize self-help through the Zahar Foundation, because I understand that sometimes professional help can be very, very expensive and it's not even accessible. So yeah, that answer your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, I'm just surprised that like you have answers to almost everything, and I'm really surprised at that. So I just want to say thank you. You answered like everything. And thank you
Thank
once
you.
again.
So Naomi,
Towards the end of Hanson's question, you did answer my question. I was going to ask if mental health is a luxury. No, access to mental resources. And the truth is, it kind of is, because, like you said, it's expensive. There are few, therapists and all of that in Lagos, in Nigeria generally. There's a network of them, but to access them, you have to pay hefty sums, and not a lot of people can afford it. So, are there like any free tips or resources that we can take, advantage of? Anything you'd like to share? And if it does not come to you like straight away, you could always send it to us via email and we'll share with our community members. But if there's any that is like coming to you right now, you could please share with us. Thank you.
okay, so concerning free resources, to be honest, I always, like, over the years, one thing I've realized when I refer people to like free counselors and the rest of that is that you call that number, call it, do not pick it. So that's just like the thing about free resources, that gradually it's becoming inaccessible. It's just there for fancy. These people will not answer you. And you can't blame them because it's their profession. That's how they make a living and they're trying to make money too. So there's only little they can do. But yeah, I think money, that's mentally aware Nigeria. I think they still offer that. But again, I'm not like guaranteed of, you know, how um how fast you're going to get a response. That's just it. But I still think you can give it a trial. And then we have this Array Wellness. They actually do this community thing where they just like have events and they come and they have like a psychologist like discuss issues. So I think that's another one that can be helpful. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's paid. We also have Chat and Chop. So they also have that. I think they're in Ibadan, Lagos, and Abuja. So it's free. Chat and Chop is actually free. So they sometimes it's online, sometimes it's physical, where they just come. Now there's no psychologist here, but you just come and you talk to people, and it's a free space where you can actually just discuss, and you just have like people counseling you. So that can be very helpful. However, I feel like the most beautiful initiative that I would, recommend if you know that you need help urgently and real help would be the Indeed Students Package, but now it's paid. That's just it. But it's like the cheapest offer that I've seen so far. And you have like, it's currently 40K. It used to be 30K, but this year with how the prices of things went, it just went to 40K. And you get 3 sessions online. And I think that's beautiful because typically to talk to somebody for 45 minutes would cost you about 50 something. You get first, you would even have to pay 125K for 45 minutes just to know if the therapist is right for you. So it's just quite expensive. Let's not lie, it's quite expensive. Free resources are not guaranteed to be readily available, and it can also be taxing really, because sometimes these people need a break. I think that's to understand why sometimes these free counselors and therapists do not pick up calls, because it can get really overwhelming. I personally have backed up from any personal one-on-one because sometimes they are just so drained by other people, and there's also like a limit to how much you can help, so you can't blame them. So yeah, that's just it. I think these people ASAD at Suicide and Depression Squad, they also have like Zoom sessions with a psychologist. Sometimes it's free and sometimes it's paid. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Sapphire. Again, thank you for your time. It's been over 2 hours and we've just been getting gems and learning and learning. I'm sure everybody here today is going home with something. There's a takeaway for everybody, and it's been a wonderful session, really. There's 3 questions. I know we are like pressed for time. So if you could just like answer all 3 of them in like 3 minutes. They were posted in the Q&A session anonymously. Do I read them out or will you read them in the chat? I just posted them.
Okay, I'll just read them now. So the first one is, how do you set boundaries with a friend without being rude? Or what are some ways to set boundaries with a friend? Like I said earlier, you have to be willing to have difficult conversations, and you don't have to be rude. And even if you're not rude, just know that the person will still consider you rude. So I think that's something you want to know, that you can't. These are not conversations that the person is going to like smile through and be so happy that you guys had. It's going to be a difficult one. It's not. So I think first you must get rid of the idea that everything is going to go well, because no, it's not going to go well. The person is probably going to feel offended. But if they are reasonable enough, they should take their time and understand you. But just know in that moment, you have higher chances of coming up as rude, even if your tone is not rude or anything. It's just going to seem like you're doing so much. Now, how to set boundaries with a friend? I feel like one way you can set boundaries to a friend is to. I think friendships can be very difficult relationships, really. So I think one thing you can do is to, have conversations. That's just it. Like if they do, I feel like with friendships compared to romantic relationships, there's really no talking stage where you can say, okay, this is what I want to, you know, want. This is what I want in this relationship, or this is what I can condone in this relationship. Sometimes you just put yourself being friends with people. There's no formality to it, like romantic relationships. So it's very hard for you to come and say, oh, I don't like this thing, I don't want you to do this thing, respect me this way. So I think the easiest way you can do that is first encourage like general conversations about it. So it's something you want to discuss. In my friend, my I used to be in a friend group, and sometimes we'll just discuss and think, okay, how do you guys feel about this thing? You could spark conversations that way. So when you spark the conversations, or when you say things like, oh, what do you guys think about having your friend, your boyfriend? So you guys can have that conversation about it, and that's your chance to not say, "Oh, I wouldn't like this," or "I would like this." So it's a way to like, so you have to like spark those conversations, so you guys tend to discuss these things, and then when you say that, if you guys now do not have a conversation about that particular thing, and you want to discuss something, I think you can again do that personally, when through a conversation, and say, oh, this thing happened, I do not like it, and I will appreciate it if you respect me this way. It's If you feel it's easier texting, go ahead and text, really. Like I said, it will be hard not to offend the person. That's just the truth. So I think you have to be open about it. But if the person again is reasonable, it's something they should understand you and actually change. You guys are going to have like a few tense moments and all of that, but it should not be a thing where they just stop talking to you, and you guys are suddenly no longer friends. It shouldn't work that way. So I think that's why it's also very important that you choose the friends you want to be with. And if you realize that, oh, you've spoken to this person multiple times, you should cut them off. I think that's fair. I had this particular friend that we always had issues, and every time I tell her, don't do this, don't do that, I'll discuss it. And at some point, she had to ask me, why were we always discussing this? And I was like, if you do not want us to discuss this, it means I can no longer be friends with you, because I'm not just going to sweep things under the carpet and be fine with it. You have to be fine with us having these conversations, because I feel disrespected, but I also love you and I still want to be friends with you. So I have to ace out with you. And well, like I said, it's hard for them not to feel offended, so we won't talk anymore. But yeah, with some people, you still talk because they understand, and you both do the I'm sorry, and everything is fine, and you respect each other. I feel like if your friends are mature people, it shouldn't be hard, really. So the next one says, I have weird esteem issues. It's difficult to explain. It's like I have a God complex while also being insecure. It's like a love or hate relationship with myself. This sounds like imposter syndrome. Off the bat, really. Is it normal, or do you suggest I seek professional help? And can you offer tips on how to build self-esteem? So yeah, it actually sounds like imposter syndrome to me, really, when sometimes you're feeling all good and you feel confident in yourself, and sometimes you do something and you just feel like, can I really do this? And you're just like insecure, and there's that constant self-doubt, even though yeah, a pretty high achieving person. So I feel like the thing with imposter syndrome is great that when you've noticed it, it's quite difficult to handle, because sometimes people do not give you the permission to doubt yourself. That's just like, people know, okay, this, you can do this thing. You say, if you can do this thing. So sometimes you just feel weird when you like feel that insecurity and you're like, what's happening to me? Am I sure I'm as confident as I think I am? So yeah, it's pretty hard to do it, but I feel like one thing you should do is to allow yourself feel it. All right, don't it's not a bad thing, really. It's quite normal. So just allow yourself feel it. And I think one thing you should realize is that one thing you should realize is that it's something you can actually handle. You would not always be that way. And it can actually come up from different reasons, really. And maybe it's just like past people you have around, or the thing you're about to do. Really, when you're probably working on something bigger than what you typically do, I think it's normal for you to doubt yourself. It's normal for you to feel that fear, because if you don't feel it, then it's you're stepping out of your comfort zone, really. So I feel like one thing you can do is to actually like talk to people that allow you to be vulnerable. Really, talk to people that won't think, how come you're just feeling this way all of a sudden? I'm very shocked at these people.
I think that person wants to vent. They were looking for an outlet. They were they were triggered by the situation. So no, but I feel like, just to buttress the question, I had a similar situation a few days ago. How do you address situations with adults? Sometimes, especially when they're like, family members, or how do you address situations that have to do with like confrontation, that you have to talk to them about,
All right.
taking into consideration that not they may not have the same understanding of the topic like you do.
Okay, so let me just wrap up this imposter syndrome. So yeah, like I was talking about it, you want to be with people that allow you to be vulnerable, because that way it's a lot easier for you to come and tell these people that, oh, I feel this way, and they actually like encourage you. So it's not just you battling with this thing in your head. So another thing you want to do again is to stop comparing yourself to other people. All right. Don't compare yourself to other people. The thing about comparison is a thief of joy. And don't get, understand that you're in your own personal journey. Don't also fight your feelings. Like I said, just allow yourself feel it, because the thing is, when you feel that way, just keep on going, because it's just normal for you to have that sense of insecurity at some point, but it shouldn't like hold you back, because it's not who you are. Uh, it's just like a boat, really. It goes, and it's not like who you are. So constantly remind yourself of who you are, and just keep building your confidence. And yeah, sure, it's normal for you to have doubts. Well, when you have doubts, just remind yourself that, okay, I'm that girl. So yeah, concerning adults, I think one thing I really like about getting older is the fact that I can't change this for people that I need to change this for. Really, I think it's so cool that, okay, I can see my mind. I'm not even getting it. But one thing about adults is that adults are like hard to deal with, because of that age gap and that whole feeling of, oh, they understand things better. Um, I feel like one thing um I would say you should do is to also make them realize that you're also an adult. You're no longer a child. So let them know that you're pretty capable of making decisions. by yourself or doing things by yourself, you don't necessarily need the advice. You can handle the consequences of your actions, really. So I feel like that's one thing you want to really accept, and it's something that I really enjoy as I'm getting older. So actually, like, stand up to people, because I'm not 16 guy. If I'm saying something, I'm saying what I'm saying, and I know what I'm saying. If it ends up going bad, well, I'll handle it. That's just it. So I think first you want to make them understand that yeah, also an adult, and you have every right and every sense of responsibility to challenge them. And another thing you want to do is, depending on what the issue is, like, you might want to explain things to them. But sometimes these people are not like the most open-minded people, or people that are, willing to listen. So it might be futile when you want to like explain things to them. So it's left to me, depending on what it is, I'll just like not say anything and stick my head to do what I want to do anyway. But if it's not a situation where I can go ahead to do what I want to do anyway, I think that's when you like try to explain and get them to trust you. There are situations where my mom might not understand what I'm doing, but I'm just like, just trust me. I feel like you want to let them understand that, okay, you brought me up well, you should trust me, all right? You should trust me that I can make my own decision. And that can also, for them, they'll just be like, okay, let's see how this thing goes. But another thing we also want to recognize about dealing with adults is that they also have good intentions for us, really. I feel like that's another thing that sometimes maybe we should not just go out fight it, and all of that, because when you look at it, at the end of the day, they do have good intentions for you. They don't hate you too. So I think one time I had like an issue with my mom, and I'm like, okay, I understand that you're doing this because you love me, but at the end of the day, we both have the same end goal, for me to be happy, for me to be successful. So how about I guarantee you that if we do it my way, this will also still happen. You don't have to follow your mouth, but we're still getting to the same place. So I just feel like yeah, that can work. But if it's like a heated conversation, I will just say step back, because sometimes it really doesn't make any sense. Step back and do what you feel, and do be fine. I feel like that's one thing that I think about black people. So they won't take themselves. So anything you want to do, to go ahead and do it. And if they actually see you doing well, they wouldn't mind at the end of the day. Because like I said, you guys both have the same goal. So it's not as if you're truly against each other. And whatever it is you do, they'll definitely adjust to it. That's just, I don't know if I'm giving like bad advice right now, but that's my own personal uh, way to handle it, really.
All right. Thank you so much. Jane. I feel like we can't tell you thank you enough. Before we go, I know we'll be wrapping up in the next few minutes. I just want to give people on the call a chance to like say thank you personally, maybe a takeaway, something from this meeting, anything they want to say to you, basically. Anyone? Zoe, Sean, Esther, I see you. Chiamaka, if you're still on the call. Aisha, Evelyn, Mathina. Does anyone want to say thank you to Sapphire? Tell her what you've learned. Sean, go ahead.
Okay, I don't really have much to say, but I'm really grateful because I'm someone that really loves anything about mental health, any discussion that has to do with mental health. I feel it's just as important as your physical health or as your emotional and spiritual health. But in Nigeria, you see a lot of people don't really prioritize it. So when you see someone that takes it so seriously, that learns a lot about it, and they're willing to share different ways of improving your mental health, it makes me happy a lot, and I'm really, really grateful to our speaker for taking out the time to enlighten us. It's been a wonderful session. So thank you so much. And thank you, Naomi, for this amazing opportunity. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Does anybody else want to go? Go ahead.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay,
Hi.
so my name is Onarieta. I was invited here by Esther, and I just want to say thank you to her, first of all, for inviting me. This session has been amazing. Thank you for hosting it. Thank you, Miss Sapphire. Everything you have said so far has been really enlightening. Something I took from this session is the fact that you can get back on track at any point in time. A lot of times, and something that I struggled with when I was younger, I always waited for like the beginning of the year, all these big events. So a new day, okay, I messed up today, I didn't start the day the way I wanted to. But over time, and even with what you said, it has reinforced what I've learned, that you can start again at any time. You can start at 7 p.m. You can say, okay, I want to get my life together right now. And you can do it because it's your life and you have that ability, you have that power. So, yes, thank you so much for this beautiful session. Really appreciate it.
Thank you too.
All right. Thank you so much, Sapphire. 2 hours, 30 minutes of your time. And it's been learning, learning, learning. My biggest takeaway personally, something you said during the very beginning of the session or towards the very beginning. You said prioritize your happiness in the present moment. And that really resonated with me because, a lot of times we are waiting for, don't worry, when I get this admission or when I buy the Lamborghini or when I, buy the Birkin bag or when I take this trip, this vacation. But that made me realize that we have to live in the present moment and prioritize our happiness because there's no guarantee, like you said. So again, thank you so much for your time. We are really grateful to you. We really do appreciate you. Before we go, if you can, please turn on your cameras. Let's just take a picture to commemorate. I'm a sucker for memories. 1 year from now, you're like, oh, we had this. So if you can, thank you. Everybody, if you can, turn on your camera.
Where I am is pretty dark, but I'll do my best.
Okay, that's okay.
And I was feeling shitty this morning, so I'm not looking my best. But it's all right. Let me see.
I'm tying a scarf too, so if that's any consolation.
Yes, it is. So nice
right.
to see your face. I was wondering, I'll see what you look like.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you too.
Can I get the picture? So I think it's something I would love to have.
Of course, I'll send it to you. So if your camera is on, everybody, if you can't turn on your camera, if you cannot, smile. Sorry, a notification popped up. So okay, smile.
Now let me smile.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Good night.
Right.
Have a lovely
Good night.
weekend. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a wonderful time, really. I had so much fun. And
I did too.
yeah, I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you so much. Bye bye.